Joining us now to discuss Bitcoin news and more is Michael Venuto, Chief Investment Officer at Toroso Investments. Hi there, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Christine.
So, taking a look at Bitcoin, pulling back a bit, but where do you see Bitcoin headed in the short term?
I think we're pretty bullish right here. I think there's a lot of clarity coming with regulation that, most scenarios, most industries, when regulation comes in, people run. In this particular case, it's taking away that risk that, there's some sort of hypothecation or banning. I don't think it's going to be necessarily Jamie Dimon adopting right here, but there are plenty of institutions that want to protect their assets or their purchasing power. And, Michael Saylor's done a lot to push that ahead, but we're seeing even more adoption right now in the institutional or TradFi world, as we like to call it.
Yeah, Jamie Dimon still thinks Bitcoin is worthless, though JPMorgan, the bank itself, is delving into Bitcoin initiatives. But your reaction to, I guess, he's not coming around anytime soon.
Well, I think it's very difficult for him to come around because if Bitcoin fulfills its dream of banking the unbanked, then JPMorgan is worthless. So it's, he's got a choice to make here whether or not to chew off his own leg to get out of the trap. That said, they are making things available to institutional investors that get them exposure here. So, either it's worthless or it's a tool that he wants to sell to other investors. It's a difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, he's even questioning the 21 million supply cap. I mean, if we were to play with this idea, sure, perhaps someone could change the code, but I don't think the community would go along with that if it were ever to fork. But I don't know if you had any thoughts on that further.
Look, the U.S. money supply, 40% of what's out there has been minted in the last 2 years. So, Bitcoin's value prop above that is that there is a limited supply. I've heard the fear mongers before say, the fact that it's infinitely divisible and Satoshis and all that makes it so the supply isn't limited, or somebody could change the code and not be rational actors. That's the whole value of a decentralized network, right? So I think that this is trying to compare fiat and give a fear that Bitcoin could be unlimited like fiat. There's nothing in the code or the decentralized network that would suggest that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have a pretty bold prediction, Michael. $100,000 worth Bitcoin will hit a price of $100,000 by the end of the year. How will it get there? Time's ticking away.
I still think it's coming. We're seeing the institutional adoption. In our block ETF, we now actually, because the regulators have softened on where we can get exposure, we actually now own the 3 of the Canadian Bitcoin ETFs as small positions. So if I'm able to bring institutional adoption through an ETF, I would imagine many others are as well coming that way. And, we may not get the perfect ETF for actual Bitcoin exposure anytime soon. We'll probably get a futures-based or something like that. But the demand for things like Grayscale, for the Canadian products, for what we do in block, for what Bitwise does, all the things we're seeing bringing institutional investors access to something that they know changes the world. I'm going to reiterate my 100K price by this year end.
How should people be interpreting, latest news that Stripe is getting into crypto? Intel has no limits on GPU. There, more miners getting to the game in terms of the future value of Bitcoin.
Yeah, look, so everybody confuses just the price with what's going on in the back rooms of mining, of capital raising. In the last 6 months, my partner Dan Weisskopf and I have been to visit CleanSpark. We've been to visit Core. We've been to visit Hut 8. We've been to visit Riot. The things that are being done to further this change and make it so that this world is available to bank the unbanked, to move money out of oppressive governments. It's unbelievable, the institutional nature that's occurring. I went to SALT a couple weeks back. It's not a hedge fund conference anymore. It's a crypto conference. Like the whole world is changing and recognizing that blockchain is the next wave of commerce. Decentralized works better than a centralized party, a Jamie Dimon that could steal from you. I'm not saying he did, but could.